Hmm. Welcome, welcome, brave ones, to this class on transcendence, transcending and connecting with this initiatic and ancient wisdom that is learning how to die, to live fully. These initiatic cultures have brought us. I will come here. Welcome, welcome, everybody joining. Good morning, where you are. um, well, first, I have to call you brave for being here. It's not easy to be present and at least curious on this topic that makes us so scared. You know, when we are like uh, thinking of our worst fears, many said fear of death, right? Fear of, and that's scary. And leaning in, wanting to know about death, to face it, is an act of bravery, and that already by showing up today has extra points in life. So I want to celebrate you and to acknowledge the bravery of showing up for today. Well, as I was saying, these different cultures and this common topic, because it's a common topic that if there's something uniting us for sure, is death. Maybe life is not secure or certain, it's not guaranteed, but death, yes. You know, life is like we don't know if we are going to keep alive in any amount of time, but death is certain. Um, can you hear me, please? I will have to check. Yes, perfect. This common factor, we are going to have to face it, as all the initiatic cultures had a mythology to face death, to face that threshold, that door in between realms. And we can go from the Celtics, the Vikings, the Indians, the Tibetans, the Mayans, even the religions and the original, the Buddhists and all the initiatic cultures had the knowing that we are preparing for death, and as well have this notion of reincarnation, that we are learning how to die to improve not only the life we are living, but to prepare for a transcendent moment, something that will transcend the moment that the life I had, my personality. There's this topic that is all around, that we are aspiring for something else, to transcend who we have been. That's the idea, right? To of alchemy as well, to be better, to improve, to upgrade, to level up in, in through the course of our life. Even that there's this kind of, I would say, this part of decay or decline. It's part of the cycles of life. So I wanted to start with this, a little bit of common factors. And as many of you have been in the first class, there's a common factor that we all may get trapped into, in like giving for granted. Yes, I heard this, done that. Yeah, it's obvious, but as well, not giving this for granted, not giving this opportunity that we are taking today for granted, not giving um, for understood something that has many layers. And I want us to invite us to a level that will help us to live with fulfillment and as well die with dignity. That's an important topic, right? Dying with dignity. What are the terms for dying with dignity? I love what you're doing. I love what you're doing of taking notes. That's exactly one of the things I wanted to say for not giving it for granted. Um, Taking notes, yes. Taking for notes, that's the active participation. Because, as we said, death is for certain, but life, we have to be infusing. We have to be active in life. We have to be feeding ourselves. We have to be putting life into life for not dying. So yes, us being present, taking the notes is a great sign. Great sign that we are there. I will give a little time. Let's see if here one of the persons that is joining can connect device. Um, yes. So I love that you're already taking notes of this because yes, you can. Okay, I will give the YouTube here. Yes, let's see. Okay, so this is not lost by anybody here. Yes, let's see. I'm here myself. Okay, so this. Perfect. Well, there's a fun thing that I can give this insight as the echo appeared. While I was studying this for, as you know, the ones who have been catching up. There's the ego that can catch us. There's the ego that can trap us. Nobody defeated Narcissus. Nothing stopped Narcissus. It was like so radiant and full of himself that nothing stopped Narcissus, but the nymph that was called Echo. Echo. So there's these secrets in the mythology that can help us get out of our egos and hearing us back. That's as what's happening for right now for me. It was like hearing myself back. Sometimes we are like so in our reflection, so in our own reflection that we need to hear ourselves, to disrupt that circle. And that has a lot to do with the first phase that I want to share to do with you today. That is, I will share first the common factors because I have to organize it too. I will order it. It's a matter of ordering. Let me check in that we are all in because I want to honor the ones who showed up, who are showing up, intending to show up. Yes, here. There we are. Excellent. So, if there's a common factor, is death, right? If there's a common factor that we all and the initiatic cultures have in life, as common in life, is that life is a school or is a learning ground, to put it more like without any conceptions of school. A learning ground. If there's something that initiatic cultures have in common, acknowledge life as a learning ground. So if school is if life is a school, what is death? Do you have any hint? What does school prepare us? When we learn, what are we preparing for? I can read you. Okay. Graduation. Okay, that's good. That's good. But yes, that's we're preparing for graduate, but we're bypassing something, right? What we learn and then we graduate, or there's something in the middle. Yes, the tests, exams, exactly. Yes, death is a test, is a trial. That's also what the initiative cultures have in common. We go to all these different approaches that there it permeates in all these belief systems and mythologies because there's some perennial truth in this. Let me clear this here. And so we're preparing for the final test. This is a big test that we are preparing for. And it's better to prepare ourselves not when we are in the test. I don't know if you have had in school or university that it's like better that you have learned some things when that moment comes. So that of giving for granted that we lived life, then we will have to prove it in the test. We have to pass through the test, and you will meet the different test takers or the examinators. In Egypt, you have the doors of Valhalla, the gateway, Anubis, all these trials that are in there, and for arriving there, um, we will have to arrive with something. We will have to arrive with, hey, I lived life, and now this is the main test, and you put to test what you have tried. So this sensation of the threshold, this sensation of the passage, it was like we are in Pascua, we are in Easter. That means passage. So I'm just falling into account that we are exactly in the passage. Also, it's in my name, Pascual. So this capacity of being aware, this historical sensation of passing through, of knowing that there's an important, meaningful moment that will help us to practice to that moment of the final test, that we are going to be exercising our presence in our story, like we are having a sensation of writing our own story. Because then when we arrive at some point in the test, you will have to remember, you will have to register what you have lived. Most of you watching today are from our Akashic lineage. In the Akasha, when you arrive to this point of the soul being shown the Akasha, all the pictures of their life, you will be able to recognize and own them, or you will have to go and write some with that ink because there's so much ink being given us, life ink given being given to us. So uh, how we arrived at that point, I will start to organize this as well. As death is for certain, uh, chaos for sure is for certain, um, life and order, we have to be there, we have to be the subject bringing order. So I will start sharing with this one. Maybe you can see it. Who have read it or seen or known something about Dante's Inferno, Divine Comedy? Have you heard this? Yes. Okay. All the initiatic cultures divide in three places you can be. The first class was exactly for this, knowing how to get out of hell, infernal states. That is where more people, the majority of people are and will be, because there's the most dense scenario to get out of. Let me show it in another contrast with other cultures. Well, here I can share. Ah, yes, here I can share this. I will have to fasten up the sharing. Yes, there's this. Uh, what we saw that were watching the rings to get out, right? To come out of the dense levels that most of the souls bounce. That's why we had to start with getting out of these rings of hell that can catch us on the way up, on the way to im- to be able to choose where we are going to be living our life, because this is not only what happens after death. This is impregnated. Is, as we saw, this is a state of our being that will be in life and in death. Will be like parallel. It's like a cycle that we can change it while we are aware of this, or we can transcend it while we are aware of this. So we saw the deeper one, that is betraying ourselves, betraying life, like not even caring about what I'm doing, saying. If I do something and I do and then if I say something and do another thing, that's uh, betraying me. So we have worked on the first class to uh, start getting up from there, not getting trapped. So these are of the dense states that we can experience, and you can see that in all cultures they divide in three. These. Let me open these two. Perfect. Stop sharing. We share again. Excellent. And maybe I can open more. We can see the three planes here. Again, the different levels or down below. Then we are like in an in-between plane, and then we can go into higher. Then there is this other one. Okay, I promise I won't like bring so many pictures, so I just want to make this point. The Yggdrasil, that is as well from the Celtic cultures, the Nordic, the Vikings, they also have divided in three. So this is a common factor that I want us to recognize, because I want to go into what mean each of those, how we can maybe not each level by level on these planes, but how to arrive to Midgard, to a middle ground, to to out of hell where we can really choose. So this is an opportunity for us choosing, and that's what we talk at the beginning on being there in life, being able to see our story past the threshold. So there are these three levels. Forgetting out of hell or the inferno, that is these tormented states that we are taken by unsolved, chaotic stuff that are trapping us, and that is there. That is there in detriment. It can catch us like a prison, and it's like not a situation itself. Remember, we're talking about transcendent. This transcends the situation. This is a state of our being that is encapsulated by something very invisible. This is something to take notes in this moment. The first three levels inside the lower level are traps that the ego will use everything to keep us there. These are in the Tibetans are like the larva and parasite states, like that we don't go beyond just like living just because of where I was, the situation, the conditioning. I just live in the conditioning and I just thrive according to the condition I was born or not. So that conditioning of these three levels is when we are living inside the ego. The ego has trapped us. And these are sounds that are catching us, like vibrations that we are unaware of, sounds, programming, and identities. So these levels that can catch us is, imagine all the what we work on the deprogramming ourselves, like starting to listen. All these initiatic teachings, we started to listen our name, the vibrations that moves us. All of that will help us to emerge beyond our ego. And it's not only the ego that we are, that's the identification, it's the collective ego as well. Because we can stop being ourselves when we die, but we can become another representative of the collective ego. It's very easy to be trapped in the same situation with another identity, but inside the ego. Like what happens usually of once the person was the killer and then it's the victim. You didn't change really the conditioning. You may have swapped identities and programming, but you are inside the conditioning as well of that situation. So that's tricky there, right? That's why we exercise in this first level to get out of the ego. We in the initiatic teachings exercise our initiatic warrior, the warrior awareness, la atención del guerrero in the shamanic. So we can catch these programmings, we can catch these idols, these ideas, these identities trying to live through us. And when we develop that awareness, we can do the fight for being ourselves. That most people are in that in that fighting for being, fighting for existing. Those are the struggles of life for being present. That's like, okay, there, I want to inhabit myself. I want to have some power over my life and not be just enslaved by the conditioning of my programmings, what happened to me in my life, my identities, and I have some power. I build up some power. So that's why we practice first the infernal states, to be aware of those things of the ego, those little patterns that will catch us on just giving for granted. Oh, that's impossible for me because these are the conditions. Remember, it's like playing little games that I have what I don't have, that I don't have, or I act that I have what I don't have. So these illusions and identifications and projections are the first challenge for us to see when we are alive. Remember, when we are alive, it's not that then when they show it in the Akashic screen, it's like, yes, yes, I got caught, I got caught. Yes, uh, it doesn't liberate you. There's this misconception that just because of being dead, of dying, you will be liberated. That's not true. You will not be liberated. This is something. That's why we develop a spirituality. There are consequences of how you live your life, what you did with life. It's not that you just lived here, it didn't matter anything that you did here, and it's the same. That's nihilism. It's not the same. That's why we train. That's why we exercise for those trials, for these passages, for this history that we are writing. This is like a heroic cycle. That's why it's so strong, the mythology, the hero's journeys, because this is as well a common factor, a common cycle that we are all experiencing. So far, so good with this first part. I know that is the most dense. I know that I have to start with the most dense because it's like starting from the most dense is uncomfortable, but that's the ascension we're doing. Okay, I see you then. Let me take a mate. So I just sound like tuk tuk tuk. um, any questions so far on this? I know that there may some glitches. That's like the trial and all that stuff. There may be glitching something, but please you can write it here. I read in both in the YouTube and in the chat here. So far I have not seen. Okay. So the first level is trapped by ego, right? We just live and die trapped by ego, and we just keep repeating that cycle. And that's the bounce. That's called the bounce in the samsara wheel. People that were unaware that were reproducing the same pattern, that they were a slave of the same problem, repeated once and over, and they could not even detect it. They didn't even care on detecting what was the real problem, the real purpose, the meaning of what they are doing. So just by us being here and interested in this, help us, put us a feet. I won't say no, not even a feet. Put us at the threshold. Then the step we have to each of us do it. But this put us at the threshold of passing through this conditioning, through this stage, this room that can trap us. Then, where I want to talk today, we go to the second place, where there's this. Let me see if the terminology is purgatory. I bet you heard about the purgatory, or as well in Yes, I have it here. Um, ah, I will show some images as well for activating our warrior before arriving to the purgatory. When we arrive to the threshold that we are working on, we'll find that we this warrior that we develop, this spiritual warrior, is not someone. Is not. The Vikings took it very literal. They were the honor of the Vikings were you win, or even the Spartans as well. You win a opportunity of hell or Valhalla or like a better place by uh, dying for a cause, dying in battle. So that's put you at the threshold. If you are in the battle to get out of the ego, if you're in the battle to not be scared of death, then you can face it. Every time I have to change the screen. Okay. Okay, I have more pictures, but I will have to show. So in my experience as well, what happens to me is not that was this mythology only. I saw it in my akashic initiations, in many visions, in many journeys around worlds. I face guys like these ones. Do you know this guy? Have you seen this guy before or yes? Or any vision in any vision? Have you seen him? Yes, this guy from the Egyptian mythology as well is the the hound, the guardian of the threshold that will put your warrior again, the warrior facing uh, that big challenge is going to be there. And this guy is a hound. You know, it has its senses very strong. They like the dog. He can smell you. He can hear you. He can catch you. You know, if you come there with any sensation, with fear, he can smell it from you. So there's this point of not acting, not playing the little games. So if I pretend that I'm brave, but I'm not, you know, or I am not, but when I'm put into the test, or I pretend that I am, but I pretend that I'm not. That you do not trick this guy with that. This is a the spiritual father of dogs. You know, it catches all. It catches with all the senses if you can pass or not. So uh, I have been facing this guy and made a good relationship as we did with the sphinxes. That's the idea of this, like not being scared of the sphinxes, to be able to face them and say, "Hey, it's like you know me, you know me, you recognize, you know, it's like you can pass through the archetype with your archetype of the warrior, you can pass to this threshold." So then once we pass through there, we have the other test, that is the mediation. That's part of what we know as the purgatory, because there's still something not defined. In the purgatory, I will show the one of Dante, that also is interesting. We have Dante and Egypt. I made a compilation, guys. I will make more agile than the presentation. But I wanted to show you the pictures, because we are not just talking on my only personal experience of facing this stuff. this is a compilation, a compendium of human wisdom on this. Once you come from this lower place down there, you start mediating. As you can see, there's this guy with red robes in every part of the in the purgatory. So there's someone there. There's an archetype in this second stage for keeping our ascension process. Um, in this stage, we're going to face the merchant. Remember the archetypical initiatic roles we are developing: the warrior, the merchant, who we are dealing with. We are not only facing death, we are dealing with death. So there's a point that we are not only being able to stand in front of death. Now we can deal. Okay, let's let's see how good of a dealer you are, like how you can, the businessman in the modern terms. So there in your life right now, if you are having struggles with your self-worth, there's this stage of mediation too. Self-worth is developing the archetype of the merchant. How much is worth? What is worthy? Am I worthy of passing? That's what is being resolved here. And already going beyond the ego, like not being trapped by the ego, the beyond the ego will give us a death with dignity. If we arrive to the point of starting to build worthiness, we are already bringing something. Hey, I have something to offer. That is the if we arrive to this point, we're already out of this bouncing in the glass roof that most people are, returning into the karmic wheel. It doesn't end there. We know there's a level more. But in this point, I want to be more specific because we are building up. We're preparing for this dealing, for this trade when we face death. That I hope we arrive there with good offerings. So you may have seen this as well. These drawings. I made a little piece of the full picture that they were explaining how to die. And let me point it out here. So there's this guy, Anubis. As we saw, he's watching us and testing as well, doing the testing. What have you brought? But in here, there's Maat. You have heard that there's, if Anubis is the guardian, the dog at the entrance, Maat is the one you would be dealing with. So Maat in the mythology is measuring if our heart is light as a feather. But I would say if our heart is light, how light we are. And not only in the weight, even that we see a balance here. Light as well in English is nice that we have the sounds. Light is how much light we could bring, we could represent in our life. How much life, how much light we could infuse in our lives. This is what makes the treasures of luminosity that we are going to be offering. So, for bringing these treasures, we we are going to develop in our life. We are like surrendering or delivering uh, how luminous was our life. Not only the detachment that is the most known part. How could I detach? But also how luminous I could make this life. Light in both senses. The two vertients, the two vertices of light. So Maat is going to measure that. And who is here? Who is here? Maybe you know this one. As we were saying, in the Akasha, there's this guy scribing, right? There's this thought in the Egyptians, um, many others, Hermes, and many others in other mythologies of Greeks. There's some guy taking notes, scribing. So this scribe priest has to do with the next level. That's why it's like you pass this and then you go to the next level, how you are writing your story, how you are writing what you want, not just registering. Here you can offer, own first, own your life, to offer your life story in the luminous way. And then you not only deal with the ones that are with the ones measuring here, but with the ones that are writing it. You don't only talk with the actors. You don't only talk with the client, to say it in modern terms. You talk now with the director and the producer at the same time of the movie, of your life, of your lives. Now this is like beyond one life. You start like talking with the director of your lives. So this is the link between the purgatory, when we are mediating, where we are going beyond the ego because we just have something and we made it better, we made it luminous. That is beyond what was given, beyond the ego. And then we are going to be free from the condition, but then we have to choose where to. So the first stage would be trapped. The second would be free or released in a sense. And then with that intermediary freedom that is in the purgatory, it's not only free, then you have to choose. You have to choose where to go. What do you do with that freedom? Because if you don't do anything with that freedom, what that you are winning and owning and dealing with your freedom, something else will choose for you and will pull you in whatever other place, so the ego can catch us again if we don't keep ascending to being able to choose our story. Is it clear? Is it useful? Is it like, tell me on the chat if it's clear, any question on these three levels, on these symbolic characters. I want to go beyond the form as well, in examples. Yes. Can you repeat that? Yes. We can be, yes, we can be trapped by the ego, the condition, what was given, by the given. We can be free from that. It's like, okay, I am in there. I am not in there, but there's the where I want to be. That, to put it into very simple, it's like you can be in there, out of there, but then you are not choosing where, and then you can choose where. So if you start with the intention of, okay, getting out of, as we worked in the first class, getting out of hell, getting out of infernal state, getting out of chaos. Okay, I have this intent. I start owning what I want. I start exercising the warrior within. I make decisions, incisions. I may cut this yes and this no. This goes here, and I start ordering my life, owning my place. Okay, that brings order that we are infusing to be able to organize and present and value what we have brought, what we have learned, what we could harvest from life, what we could polish and bring with more luminosity. So that means that from not having or from not being, then you are, and you own, and you can offer. And then you can choose. You can write where. There's this part of the priest who leads where. So we have the warrior, the merchant, and the priest. The initiatic archetypes are there that we have been practicing in all the classes, some kind, but of course, mostly we practice the warrior because it's the one that can make sure that we can get out of when we are like the ego's trying to grab our legs and pull us back. So the warrior can cut that and keep your freedom. But then where you go? Where the priest, when your priest chooses, where the priest prays for. So you are in contact with the priest at that point, and this is more advanced. I wanted just to arrive to that, what we can offer, but just to have a preview. This, when we are with dealing with what we want, when we are dealing with thought or the scribe or the director of the play, the scripter, we can ask higher things from it. We can define the conditions. We have learned how to get out of the conditions, how to value them, and then we can write them. So we are in this capacity of choosing which is the container that we want for next life, and not having to repeat the grade, bounce and bounce and bounce because of not learning the lesson. Then you can be the student and the teacher because you are choosing which learning experiences you're having. You are connecting with a higher level, like the to say it in higher, but this you can define with the spirit, with the akashic flows, where to. You can choose them, and it's not that it's what my soul chose. You are choosing as a soul. There's a moment if your soul chose, when did you choose? Because you are your soul too. This is the point you do that. Make sense? When we say, the divine plan and the soul chose this, when did you as a soul chose this? This is the point we arrive and we can uh, write our own paradise. And we are exercising it in life. We don't have to arrive and then spend one life in here, like bouncing, because we already did. We already did bounce in many lives. We already are bringing this. So we are learning how to master all these stages and archetypes, so we can write better conditions and not bounce back. And there's a warning in this part, because it's not that, oh yeah, now I'm free, and I just like, oh, my reality, I master my reality. Yes, but there, if you are given this power, like, okay, you want to write, okay, write, and you're given more subtle, more divine gifts for writing your life, and then you give it to the ego, like, I wanted to arrive the sacred fire, I wanted to arrive to divinity, for then using divinity in service of the ego. That's when the highest stakes are, because you have stolen from the gods, to say it in a way. That's also the Greek mythologies and all are trying to, for the human and the ego not to arrive to that point, because they will be amplifying the misery that the ego brings with the power of their divinity. That's when it amplifies. When you arrive past the dealing and they are giving you a divine opportunity and you betray that divine opportunity, it gets worse. Amplified, even that if you did, even worse than if you would bounce in the first levels. So I know that's paradoxical. We think that we already went through, we already passed these levels. No, but right at the end, when you're given the divine opportunity, are the highest stakes. And that's in the story of Moses. Also happened that in psychology when we see Freud, people winning and then at the last moment they fall. So it's like super winning, even everything, like even Lucifer happened that he was like winning in everything, the best, like the prodigy and everything, and then betraying. So he went to the deepest of all. So many of the ones who are also working and clearing the Luciferian patterns, we had to learn this, because we can arrive to that point again and forget that there's this awareness that we cannot lose of not betraying ourselves, not betraying divinity when it's giving us an opportunity. Every time I made or was there tremendous change in my life coming. I saw another part of my soul in dreams, which encouraged me to move forward. Beautiful, beautiful. Yes. We are practicing right now in the dream realms, in the ego deaths that we are having through life. This is not just one moment or when someone dies, when our personalities die too, when we are transforming really. The ego deaths are an exercise as well of this. The dream realm is as well the exercise of in between, the threshold. Every time this cycle happens, is kind of fractalized in when we awake and sleep. There's this. There are people that have a lot of insomnia or fear of sleeping, because their subconscious has this uncertainty of not knowing if they are going to wake up. There's like, because there's this at play. There's like we don't have certain that we are going to wake up. It's in a way a surrendering when we are sleeping. Ah, so nice. Thank you for listening, for being here, and for exercising, because this passes us through. This passes us through these levels, and as well keep on check that ego that is counting all the time. Even like spiritual higher beings have it's not they are not free from this. Not ascended masters, not even archangels are free from this. Not even God. This is like the best design that the universe, God, divinity could do, because like paradoxical, and as well the deepest way of really learning and mastering our reality, because otherwise will happen like happens here in the ego levels, in the ego levels, when we study in the university and then we think that we know it, and then we go into life and then it didn't apply what we thought that was we were preparing us for life, for our profession. And then that profession even doesn't prepare us for what we thought that the purpose of life was. So that's like not honoring and also not owning the lessons, because if you learned at the first time that this is not what you may be learning, that the other is teaching, that the program, the educational programs are teaching you, and you already realize that that's not serving you, you're letting the other program you, and you're betraying yourself. So the only way for really owning our wisdom, our to become it wisdom, our knowledge, is to put it through a trial. That's the only thing that the schooling system has like emulated, but it's super fake. Like we are multiple choice, nothing that you produce of your own life. They just have the instance there, but it's not really meaningful. The real tests in life are how we put us to test. That's why, first of all, this was a test. This class today was a test of presence, of showing up. If you're brave for facing this topic, all the life tests, or the tests that life is bringing at us in these times, are there for us to own what we have learned. And then we will know, if we will really know if it's us, if we can keep it through the threshold. What are we willing? What are we willing to die for? What are we willing to let our ego die for? What are we willing to die for live for, die and live for? Because there's the convergence point. When you are choosing, you as the capital Y, is choosing what to die for, life has much more meaning. When you're choosing that you are writing your story, you have much more power. And you do it, and you act on it. So I have a meditation, but now we are on time. I have an invitation then, because the mediations, that's for when we meditate, is we are medio state, between medio states, meditate between states. That's a great practice for the purgatory, the in-between realms. The invitation to bring in our life in Vita is something that has been life-changing for me, that has been storytelling, exercising storytelling. This I put it into test, into proof. I could prove it and known it when my grandmother died. When my grandmother died, that she was the grandmother that she raised me since I was child. She kind of spoiled me in many senses. She, yeah, shaped me as well because I was with her. And when it was time for her funeral, everybody in there, all my family was, of course, moved, sad, overwhelmed. But I could not let pass what I discovered beyond the how everybody was. I had something to say that was mine, specifically mine of what I lived with her. So I exercised my warrior of going beyond beyond my fear of, oh, this is death. I will be judged by my family if I say this, and uh, I don't know if this is the protocol here, because what do you say when in the funeral when they're about to? And I turned on this historical sense. I knew not only that I had lived a story with my grandmother, but I was writing it in that moment when she was to be honored. So I went and said, yes, I have something to say. I didn't prepare the speech. I just had it in me. All good. Yes. Thank you for joining us. And we can laugh at your traits, at your identity, at your personality. Awesome. Also, I thank you for the addictions because you were a fucking manipulative person that was buying people with traits and addictions. And I thank to you because I lost my will force and I became weaker and spoiled because of you, because you were like that. And of course, that's not that comfortable to hear with a family in a funeral, but I had to say it. And thanks to that, now I have more will force because I understand what is to gain my will back. And I could honor, really honor, my story with her, and not what my ego would like, not what the collective ego would like. For me to say that she was nice and yeah, so generous. Yeah, generous for by people, for by people, and I was like facing that and as well, thanking her, but not hiding it, showing everything. So now we can laugh with her when I connect with my grandmother, even that when she's between the purgatory, that liberates her as well, acknowledging parts of the story, as we can see in Astral City. I recommend highly Astral City because shows the purgatory, the level I want us to reach or transcend to now. Like at least for all the ones who are going through the struggles, the spiritual the spiritual struggles inside, if we arrive here to the purgatory, to this astral realm that is shown in the movie Astral City, we will be able to have a death with dignity. So this is what I wanted to give today, and that was part of the urge and the passage as Pascua, Easter, Pascual. My name is also bringing in this avatar for the passing, for the passage, for these thresholds. Uh, I hear you here some minutes. I read you, and if you are satisfied, um, if you're satisfied, we can do a closure. Are you there? Thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for for incorporating this in the spirit, because all our stories are being written. So we need better quality writers to transcend the programs. um, yes, now we can connect where we keep going. We keep going. We are going to keep developing this in initiatic teachings and in the lineage, because most of you are in the lineage, and I believe that's already connecting with the priest. We are registros, the records, recording. So we are in contact with the priest. Even that I made you train a lot the warrior, because sometimes there are a lot of priests without the warning of the warrior and the dealer and the merchant. Dealer can sound so. Okay, the merchant. We cannot leave the priest there alone. That's why I'm like more hard sometimes, or like even having to be the sharp axe, because that's for training our warriors as well. The learning how to value ourselves now when we're putting ourselves, as the next classes are going to be. Many members, many of the consultants of the lineage are going to present, and that has to do with also the sexual energies that we have been working in the last class. Is putting out yourself out, and passing the threshold, coming in and coming out, if you want to bring it to more figurative in the form, but uh, being able to present, to show up in life. That's why I insist so much on this. I'm satisfied. So when will we learn of the third realm? Yes, we are learning on this. I made the two most important warnings. That was of when we are given a divine opportunity, not dishonoring it. When we made a divine commitment, not dishonoring it. That's of the main of the main uh, signals, or like amulets I can give you for now. And the recording, what we are doing with the records, what we are doing with Akashic records, is okay. I am opening the space for connecting with this higher guidance. Sometimes we don't act on that. It's like sometimes it's like, yes, it's like this was not what I wanted. This is not what I wanted to hear. And we're not like, I will give a silly example because it's happened to me recently. It's like, the last time I did an initiation, two initiations ago, it was like, okay, what do I need to know? They told me, well, rest and enjoy this and get this cryptocurrency. Okay, get that cryptocurrency. It was like, really? That you're, oh, yes. No, but this is, and I started like kicking in. It's like, no, I will check. I will analyze it, what it is, and I will wait some days. In 2 days, it raised 40%. That cryptocurrency, I never saw it coming, and I didn't act on it. And that's like not the divine opportunity, but that's when they're given an opportunity, and we are like exercising. It's like why do you ask if you're not doing anything with what you give? That's like an exercise as well of that realm. Has to do with gratia, with grace and gratitude. But the gratitude, embodied gratitude, like doing something about it. And as well, the other sharp part is we gave you some gracia, some grace, and now you're dishonoring it. Like, what are you doing with that grace? I have a power of like influencing, let's say, and I was dishonoring that influence, that grace that was given, um, by bad influencing, inviting people to go to parties, to gaming, to smoking. I was like go using wrongly my influence. So I was dishonoring that gift, that divine gift. So that's a part of what we learn of how to build up the third realm. They are giving us the tools, and we build up. We craft with it, knowing that it's a divine tool that was given to us. So yes, yeah, I hope that that involves us, invites us to live a life worth living, and a death in dignity. That's what I intended for today, to help us to liberate, free from, and then master our destinies, and not just be victim of the destiny, victim of casualty, victim of karma. This is when we go into Dharma. We are choosing, we are driving, we are setting the course, uh, opening the way towards the paradise we are building. Thank you. Thank you so much. It's an honor to have shared this class. Thank you for showing up today. Here we are connected, and until next time.